And what is going on, DTV? Once again, I am Eric Dave's friend, here to review Game of Thrones Season 6, Episode 7, The Broken Man. There was another returnee in this episode, so if you don't want to know who it is, stop watching now because I'm obviously going to start with it. Okay, so the episode starts without the opening credits to start it off, which I don't think has happened since the Season 4 premiere. I could be wrong about that, but anyway, we see a group of people building something. We don't know who they are or what's going on. They're just building some kind of structure. And we see a large man holding this big, large chunk of wood. And he puts it down and he looks at the camera. It's the Hound, who a lot of us had a suspicion was not really dead because we didn't see him die. Yeah, so he has joined this society who are led by this Septon, played by Ian McShane, his name in the show is Ray, and he explains, pretty much just telling the audience how the Hound was saved. He found the Hound, pretty much looked like he was dead, was getting ready to bury the Hound, and the Hound breathed and he lived, and he thought the Hound would still die, but the Hound still lived, and the Hound's been with this group ever since, and he seems very content with this group, like he's enjoying this life of kind of solitude, of he's done with fighting and all that. So there's a funny scene where he asked the Hound, it must have been 10 men who took it down. He says, no, it was just one. And then Ray goes, well, it must have been some kind of monster. And the Hound goes, it was a woman. Yeah, a woman took me out. And later he explains, to the Hound, someone still has plans for you. And this Septon Ray kind of sounds like an agnostic. He doesn't know what God is real and what's not real. He just believes there is something out there. And he says to the Hound, there's a plan for you. There's something out there waiting for you. And, the Hound is just like, I've heard talk like this before, whatever. But, he seems happy, the Hound. But later in the episode, Ray's giving a speech and he starts talking about his backstory. And he says, it's never too late to stop robbing, to stop killing. When he says that, he looks right at the Hound. And, he seems like, unlike the Sparrow, he seems like a well-meaning person. So, I was enjoying his character. But then 3 men arrive on horses, and they want things. They want supplies, they want food. And Ray says, well, all we have, you can join us for dinner, but that's about it. And they get, these 3 men get kind of pissed off. And when they leave, they say, the night is dark and full of terrors, which we all know is Lord of Light talk. So they leave, and the Hound goes to chop wood and stuff, and Ray goes to talk to him, and the Hound knows who they are. He says those were Brotherhood without banners, because the Hound encountered them back in Season 3, so he knows who they were, and he warns Ray. He's like, they're not good people. I've seen them, and Ray wants to think the best of people. He doesn't want to believe in the evil in the world, even though there's a lot of evil in the world. And he says to the Hound, come join us. But the Hound says, let me finish my work and then I'll come join you. When the Hound's done, he finds out everybody's been killed, and poor Ray he's hanging, he's been hung. It was so sad. It was like, because you could see Ray, like I said, was a well-meaning person, and the Brotherhood obviously wiped all these people out. And the Hound is pissed, grabs an axe and just storms off. And it reminded me a little of The Godfather Part 3, when Michael Corleone, who's played by Al Pacino, says, just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in, which is kind of like what's happened to the Hound. He's back in, so he's obviously going to go try to kick some ass. I'm happy he's back. I enjoyed his character, especially in Season 3 and 4 when he was with Arya. So we'll see what happens with that. So next, I want to get to King's Landing. So the High Sparrow, who I really can't stand, goes to see Marjorie, and Marjorie once again is putting on her act. She's playing it beautifully, acting like she's all committed, and the Sparrow goes, the King came to me and basically said, you're not holding up your end of the bargain, you're not doing your duty, so, and, Marjorie's like, I'm sorry, I've just been so out of it, and blah, 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 and the Sparrow goes, you do need to produce an heir, because we need to continue all of this, and that's the only way to do it. You have to produce an heir. But then the Sparrow makes a threat about Marjorie's grandmother, the Queen of Thorns, and he says, listen, you have to convert her to this. She's an unrepentant sinner, and Marjorie realizes her grandmother's in big trouble. So she goes to see the Queen of Thorns, and she, of course, has someone with her, so she has to, again, keeps this right act going, even with her. Says, grandmother, you must go home. And her grandmother's like, have you gone mad? Are you crazy? What's going on with you? You don't have to stay here. Let's go. But then Marjorie gets down, looks up at her, and says, go home. And she slips the Queen of Thorns something, and then the Queen of Thorns gets it. She gets that she's warning her. So she agrees to go back to Highgarden, and when she steps out, she sees what Marjorie handed her was this piece of paper with a rose with thorns on it, and it was Marjorie's way of conveying, this is an act, I'm still with you, and I'm trying to protect you, so she gets it. So later, Cersei goes to see the Queen of Thorns, but she hears she's leaving, and she explains, look, we both are, I'm sorry, we both are in trouble, we need to unite against this common enemy, this power. And the Queen of Thorns is like, this is all your fault. You put him in power, you did all this, and Cersei recognized, she says, I made a terrible mistake, I'm sorry. She's like, are you the worst person, I've ever met? I don't know, but you might just be. And then she says, I'm getting out of here, and if you're smart, you'll get out too, but Cersei doesn't want to leave Tommen the King. And then the Queen of Thorns does say one thing, the one joy I have in this whole horrible thing is that you have lost. You've lost all your power, you've lost it all. So, which is true. I mean, she did lose a lot, and she did cause all this. She did put the Spiral in power, and came back to bite her in the butt. So, that's a story with that. So, next I'm going to move on to the River Run. And Jaime and Bronn, who's back, arrive, and I'm so happy to see Bronn because, like I said, I hated the Dorne story last season, like everybody, but I always appreciated Bronn, his wit, his humor, his character. I love it. So we're at the River Run, the castle, and Walder Frey's sons, they have Edmure, who's the Blackfish's nephew, who's Catelyn's brother, and they have him on a noose, and they threaten to hang him, and they say, if you don't give up the castle to the Blackfish, we're going to hang him, and the Blackfish just says nothing. Then they take the noose off, and one of them puts a blade to his throat. And again, he's like, this is the knife I used to slit your niece's throat. I'm going to slit your nephew's throat right now if you don't let this castle go. And he says, go do it. He calls their bluff. They don't do it. He knows they're not going to do it. So Jaime shows up, and he says, give Edmure a bath, feed him. And he basically takes control of the situation. He says, I'm here on the authority of the king. He goes to talk to the Blackfish and says, listen, no one has to die, just give up the castle. And the Blackfish is pissed. He says, listen, I was born here, I'm not going anywhere. If you figure you're going to just wait us out, we have enough provisions here to last us at least 2 years, so it's going to be a long wait, so you're going to have to attack us. He says, I don't care. So Jaime realizes if he's going to take the castle, it's going to have to be definitely by force. So, we'll see what happens with that. Jaime has an army, but, the Blackfish is pretty steadfast. He's tough, so, it's curious to see what the outcome of that's going to be on the show. But, next I want to move on to Yara and Theon, who we caught up with on this episode. So Yara's having a good time, she's making out with a girl, she's just enjoying herself. Theon is still plenty messed up over everything that happened to him. And Yara wants him to be his old self because she knows she needs him. And she says, drink, drink, drink. And he doesn't want to at first, so he starts drinking. And she's like, listen, Theon, I know you've had a bad couple of years. And he looks at her and goes, a bad couple of years? He doesn't say it, but he wants to say to her, I had my penis cut off. I think I had more than a bad couple of years. But she says to him, listen, I need you. We need to go find this dragon girl, Daenerys, make a deal with her. We'll take back the Iron Islands. But if you're too messed up, if you're done, then just slit your wrist and end it right now. Otherwise, be the person I know you are, and because I need you. And I think she was impressed with the way he stood up before the King's Moat. So he agrees. So obviously their plan, as I suspected, is going to be to beat Euron Greyjoy to the punch and make a deal with Daenerys. So let's see what happens with that. Next, I'm going to get to Arya. We had a little, kind of a short scene with her. So she's booking passage to get out of Bravo. She wants out, and she's standing on a bridge, and an old woman comes behind her, and I saw this coming a mile away. It's really not an old woman, it's the Wraith, who I hate. I really hate this character now. She stabs Arya pretty bad, brutally. Arya fights back and jumps over and falls in water. She's alive, but she's pretty messed up. These are not superficial wounds. She's like bleeding out. She's walking through town. She needs help. If she doesn't get help, I don't think she's going to die, but she will die if she doesn't get help. Someone's got to help her patch this up because she was in pretty bad shape. Pretty bad shape. But it was a short scene, so that's the story with that. And next, I'm going to get to Jon Snow and everything that happened with all that, with Winterfell and that whole story. So the wildlings don't want to fight. They're like, look, we didn't agree to this. This isn't our fight. Jon's explaining to them, once the Boltons are done with me, they're going to come. They're going to come for you. And I noticed I didn't ask you to do this, but you need to join me. And Tormund Giantsbane speaks up for him, which I like. He's like, we would all be dead if it wasn't for him. He died for us. I would have ended up like Mance if it wasn't for him. But still, the wildlings are a little resistant. But the giant one stands up and he goes, Snow. And it's always good to have a giant around it. And the rest of the wildlings agree to help Jon. They agree to join him. So they're seeking support, and they go to House Mormont on the Bear Islands, and they meet Lyanna Mormont, who was the Lord Commander's niece. And Jon makes his case to her. Sansa makes her case. And I was really impressed with this character, because she, even for being 10, she was so stern and sounds so much like a leader, and it's like, I have to protect my people, and she was really, really tough, which is what a leader needs to be. You need to be tough. And so they fail to make the case, but Davos speaks, and he says to her, listen, and she doesn't know Davos, she's never heard of him. She's like, listen, the dead are coming for us all of us. You have to help, you have to join us. So he is so good at making people see the bigger picture in situations. He was the one that got the Iron Bank to back Stannis back in season 4. And she's like, look, we've been with the Starks for 1,000 years. We're not going to break that now. We'll fight for you. And they go, well, how many fighters do you have? 62. But then she does explain, it's 62. Each one of these 62, they all fight like they're 10 men. So it's good they got that support. But then they go to another house to get support, House Glover, and they won't support Jon and Sansa's cause. They said, the head of the house says, look, you have wildlings in your army, which is something that's very looked down upon. I'm not fighting, we're not joining wildlings. My brother pledged his loyalty to Robb, and Robb basically screwed us. Where was he when the Ironborn raided my castle, killed all my men? He was off marrying a foreigner, and I posted this on Twitter. Robb's terrible decisions are still coming back to haunt his family, because he won't join it, because the Castarks, he beheaded Lord Castark. They're aligned with the Boltons now. Houses won't join. They think the Starks are just dead. So, Robb, love is love. I understand that, but he really made some poor decisions that, were having bad ramifications on the rest of his family. So, next, and this is big, they arrive, Jon, Sansa, Davos, at Stannis' old camp, which I'm going to get to in a minute, the significance of this, because it's big. It's very big. So, Jon's like, look, this is our army. We have to make do. We can do this. Davos is agreeing with him. Sansa's like, no, we need more people. They're kind of getting into a little bit of an argument. Then we see Sansa writing to someone. I think she's probably writing to Littlefinger, realizing she does need the Vale's help and Knights of the Vale to join. That's just my, we don't know 100%, but that's my guess. So, but here's what I want to talk about. So they're at Stannis' camp. Davos is going to find out how Shireen died. And I said this on Twitter, I believe he's going to find the toy. Now, what is the toy? Last season, before Stannis sent him away to Castle Black, he gave Shireen a stag that he had made for her. When Shireen was sacrificed, which even thinking about it still makes me cry. Watch my season 5, episode 9 review. You'll see how I felt about all that. So he gave her the stag, but when she was sacrificed, she had it in her hand. I think he's going to find fragments of it. Some part of it He's going to see that it's burnt, and he's not stupid. He's going to realize what happened to her, and he's going to be pissed because the show really made a point to go out of its way to show everyone how much he cared about her. Now, I don't know if he's going to right away try to do anything to Melisandre. He might wait. He might wait for this battle to happen and then make his move. But he's going to confront her, and I want her to pay because I'm sorry. I know Stannis gave the order, but she's still very culpable in this. You can't just say she had nothing to do with it. She needs to pay, and I hope she does pay, and I think Davos will make her pay. But the only thing I guess she has in her favor is, Jon might protect her because she did bring him back from the dead. So, it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to be a powerful moment when Davos finds out about what really happened. And it's a moment I've been looking forward to since last season ended. So, it was kind of like more of a setup episode, and it makes me really excited because I think the final 3 episodes are going to be phenomenal. I think this season has been all about moving forward, pushing the story forward, which I'm happy about. And then there were 3. We're down to 3. So, those were my thoughts on the episode. Let me know what you think. Subscribe to DTV, and I will see you guys next week. See ya.